Oh yeah.
I keep people siloed. But the way I show how I care for people is usually through gifts and acts of service.
I don't know about you, but I'm very affectionate.
Like touch.
Touch.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book 91. We're talking to you guys about Married at First Sight. Yes, we are discussing Bao and Johnny, and really discussing really about love languages, and the importance of love languages and how to handle that in the relationship. Because Bao and Johnny both had a really great discussion, very, very short, but very great discussion about their ways of interpreting love and showing love to one another. And so we want to be able to discuss that for you guys going forward. So guys, do me a favor, before you go anywhere, like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of what uploads. For those of you who are returnees, you got the minerals, listen, don't forget as well, guys, listen, stay hydrated, okay? Why? Because the streets are hot. All right, listen, and send them back to the manufacturer when you know they ain't made right for you, baby. All right, cool. Before we go anywhere, before we get the conversation flowing, let's get the outro going.
Little Black Book, you know what time it is.
So we have Bao and Johnny have a really great discussion at the dinner table. Loved where they went with the conversation, right? And what was even more important was to discuss love languages. So his definition of love language, I guess, the way you understand and interpret love is very, very simple. It's the language that you understand when it comes to love. And then I think his name is Gary Chapman, says obviously there are 5 ways to show or interpret love, how people do it. It's through acts of service, which you heard from Bao. It's gifts. It is physical touch. It is quality time and words of affirmation. Now we all have two main ones, primary ones, if you want to call it, or primary and secondary ones that are most strongest when it comes to love languages. Most of us, right? And what you find is that also as well, I find anyway, what you lacked in childhood often becomes the language that you try to show that you like to have from people. All right, and not always the language that you receive is how is a language of love that you give. Okay, not everyone has that straight transition. Some people, the way they receive love isn't the way they give love to other people. Okay. Now, with Bao and Johnny, what's really important here about love language and what you can learn and what I can learn from their conversation is that when it comes to love languages, it's all about this word servitude. And Jesus kind of said this: the greatest in the kingdom is the one that serves. The greatest in your marriage is the one that serves. Since we are in a marriage of Christ and the Lamb, the greatest in the kingdom is the one that serves. The greatest in the marriage is the one that serves. If both of you are concentrating on serving one another, nobody feels like you're trying to cheat me out of this relationship. And it's something that's really crazy to me, because it's something that I'm looking in people in terms of relationship, that does someone have the servitude heart? I don't want to be someone who's just going to take, right? And what I love about what Bao and Johnny were talking about was their ways of love. And it's really important, because what happens in relationships is we can feel disconnected, or our love tanks can become empty because we're not receiving the love in the way that we understand. The currency that helps to fill your bank account, okay, the correct currency that fills your bank account, right, is important. For instance, if I give you £100, when it's translated into dollars, it either goes less or more, depending on the currency exchange rate, right? And the same thing with love. Sometimes you're giving someone love through acts of service, but their love language is actually gifts. So the way they're now interpreting it is, I don't feel as loved. And that's why their conversation was so important, because the way that we interpret love in relationships, it's key, right? Because that helps to sustain us through the course of the relationship. Love, faith, and hope, okay, are the 3 things that are important, right? But the last thing of all those 3 is love, because first of all, God is love, okay, and number 2, because the way that love kind of works is that it's an action, which is why the love languages are so important. You act it out. If I love you, I show you. Jesus said, listen, if you love me, follow my commandments. It's an action. It is not just the I love you part. It is a follow through of action. And so with Bao and Johnny discussing that, they're really starting to see where they stand. Now, they have different love languages. I think his is physical touch. And that also comes from the fact that there was also, he didn't get much physical attention or physical appreciation from his parents when he was younger, which I totally understand, right? Because, a lot of us go through situations in our childhood and environment that we grew up in, and what we lack, we tend to try and gravitate towards, right? You didn't have money, now you want to make money, and now you want to spend money on certain things, right? It happens like that for a lot of us. Not everybody, but for a lot of us. And so when it comes to this love language situation here, Johnny really wants physical touch, and he makes it very, very clear and explains that. We'll watch a little bit here.
And yeah, I like it when someone is physically close to me and gives me little touches here and there. And that's kind of how I know that they're into me.
So you notice how he explains the behavior. So, when they touch me, when the physical touches, the little intimate touches, that's how I know when they're into me. That sends a signal to me that, yes, you care for me. Yes, you love me. And again, because of our love languages, when people are not operating on that frequency, it either tells us they love us or they don't love us. And that's how it can feel. It might not be right. It might not that they don't love you, but they're not speaking your language. How can they speak French when I don't understand French? How can you speak to me English when I don't understand English? It would be no point because I wouldn't understand it. So I wasn't able to take in what you're actually saying. A waste of time, right? And so sometimes in relationships, that's where we get to, where we don't serve one another by trying to tailor ourselves to the other person. So here's what's got to happen with Bao and Johnny. As she said earlier on, you might have heard it in that clip. She was like, I'm not very good at bringing people together. Oh, teach me. Boom. That has got to be done the same way in love languages. Oh, do you know what? I'm not really an acts of service kind of person. Teach me. And here's two things. Do not become the partner that says, you should just know. If the person has asked you to teach them, do not become the person, you should just know. That's not how it works. We're in a partnership. And we're here to learn and grow with one another. I just want you to get it. We will get there. But first and foremost, if the person has asked for the other person to actually help them in that growth area, help them in that growth area. You are a partnership. I keep talking about this analogy of a three-legged race. You cannot outrun me. We're in a partnership. You cannot outrun me. We have to run at a similar pace. Even if one is kind of leading the charge a little bit, you can't outrun me. If you do, I fall down, we fall down. It's about partnership, which is so important. So yes, when your partner asks, hey, I don't really understand this acts of service, or I don't understand words of affirmation, or I don't understand quality time, what you mean by that, spell it out. Do not become that partner that goes, I just want to feel it. I just want you to do it. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to have to keep telling you. You're going to have to teach the person at some point, because we're not all gifted in the area of understanding these things. Right? And this is all part of the partnership. This is all part of working together. Okay? Let's watch a bit more of the clip and I'll talk a bit more.
And maybe attracted to me and all that stuff.
I appreciate you telling me that.
Yeah. And
because it's actually pretty low on my list.
Beautiful. She mentions here, look, physical touch is low on my list, but thank you for mentioning that. So what has to happen? For an area to grow, you have to put more attention on it. It's simple. It's a simple equation. It's not even difficult. For an area to grow, you have to put more attention on it. For a plant to grow, it needs more. It needs sunlight, it needs water, it needs nutrients. It needs that in order to grow. In the areas where you're weakest, that's where we need to be focusing on intention-wise. So if he lets her know that physical touch is his thing, now she's going to have to work on that area together. Right? We got to work together. And do you know what that working together can come like? Sometimes it requires conversation, because Bao, her background, when he asked the brothers about whether she, had physical touch, they weren't really open about physical touch. So evidently there's something there in the childhood that didn't really connect in that area. So guess what we have to do? We have a few conversations about how it was in childhood, what it was in those areas, right? And then I get to understand you and have empathy for the fact that you're also on this journey to learn how to be more physically affectionate in this area. This is why in conversations it's so important to learn the backgrounds of one another and the reasons why. Like I had one partner I had in the past, and I really do appreciate her for this. You know, she used to ask me really good questions. She's like, why do you think that? Okay, I hear you. Like, she always asks a question to understand. And that made me realize, whoa, I need to do better at trying to ask questions to understand. Because my first question is more of a question of trying to get an answer, but not really an answer to understand. Do you know what I'm saying? So when someone's asking you questions to understand, now we can have a level of empathy, because now we begin to understand where you're coming from and what you're standing upon. So when he learns that about her background, he can go, okay, I'm not going to rush you now, because I'm not going to think you're doing it on purpose to not get it right. Because where we get frustrated is when we start thinking the other person is doing it on purpose to hurt us or not get it right. But if we understand where they're coming from, we have more empathy towards what they're on. Let's listen.
Like, touch is like rock bottom. I mean,
Johnny needs more touch and physical comforting.
and that's
So you saw his face when she said, obviously that's rock bottom for him. He was like, and so for me, it's the same way. Like, I think I'm starting to learn now that someone having a different love language doesn't mean it's the end of the world, so long as they're willing to learn. And obviously you don't know, because these people are obviously on a show, they've been handpicked. But it is something that both parties need to be committed to learning. This is why I said you need to choose a partner who's willing and desiring of you, willing to learn and willing to desire you. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's stop picking people that don't even want to learn, who don't want to grow with you, who I said, it is me, take me as I am, that's what I'm going to do. Like, we need to be people that are flexible and willing to grow with the other person. Right? Like, if your love language is acts of, I'm not an acts of service kind of person, I'll be honest with you. It's not my natural love language to execute, right? But if I know that's your thing, I'm going to try and implement myself to work in that area so that I can help please you. Because my first and foremost thing is to serve you. And if I serve you, if I serve you, then I'm showing my love towards you, my gratitude towards you. And if both parties are doing that, then we're going somewhere. What you need to find is somebody who's willing to also do what you're willing to do. Do they have the same heart that you have for servitude? If they don't, my friend, potentially it's not the right person you want to be with. Okay? Let's listen a bit more.
Something I struggle with, but I am happy that the experts chose Johnny, because
Now, she keeps talking about being happy, and I want to go to another clip. That's why I wanted to move it along. I want to move it to another clip where they talk about the Jimmy Choo stuff, right? Because I thought that was quite sick. She tells him about the Jimmy Choo. So I love this, and I think this is where Gil and Mila can learn from. But I guess obviously the experts have given two people who are actually on the same wavelength when it comes to financials. And this will be my final kind of point. I love this point.
the shoes I'm wearing.
Oh.
These
Wait, what are you wearing right now?
Jimmy shoes.
Oh my God.
Look at his face. He looks so shocked. He looks scared. He's thinking to himself, my bank account's about to be raided, right? Because he's a controller, and so is she, right? So finances is about control for him as well. So evidently Jimmy Choo might be outside of the budget, he's probably thinking, right? But what's about to happen next is what she's about to explain. And do you know what? I loved it because when you're on the same wavelength, this is the kind of conversations you have, right? And when you connect, it's beautiful. Like, I remember when I was dating someone, I always say dating someone because I don't want anyone to, go be saying something. But when I was dating someone, we were talking about going to cinema, right? I was like, listen, I bring snacks, baby. I'll be going to Tesco and grab my snacks. And she was like, what? Me too. Listen, you think I'm going to buy snacks at the cinema? Me too. I go to the Tesco before we go and grab snacks. I said, I'm in love with you. You know the deal, baby. Right? And it's just mindsets. Right? Now, if they have different mindsets when it comes to this, they're going to have to try and work on this. It's an extra piece of work that requires attention in this area and understanding and why people do what they do. But let's listen a bit more.
Don't worry. I got them like consignment.
I don't even know what that means.
Oh, so they're like pre-loved but barely. Like somebody wore.
She was like, consignment, pre-loved, She fancies a bargain. Love it. Okay? Love it. My kind of people. In fact, guys, stay hydrated because I'm looking. My kind of people, them. You understand? Yeah, consignment people, them. You understand? Know how to find a bargain, blood. Now, I personally won't be doing that. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I don't really expect her to do that. If you can afford it, you can afford it. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna bust your nuts for it.
One time, it was probably at someone else's wedding. They wore like once, and they were like, "We're not going to wear them again." So
love this.
It pretty much just looks like you wore them around the house.
And actually, after that, and he says, I find that so attractive. What's attractive about that? The mindset. We have the same mindset. This is what I'm saying to you about relationships, guys. Find people with the same mindset when it comes to important issues for you. Same mindset. Which is why I can't really get mad at Mela too tough, because I have to understand mindset. Finding someone who has the same mindset helps go a very long way. Otherwise, the person has to learn how to either cope, coexist, or become the same mindset as you. And that takes time and energy. And on important issues, this can be very tough to do. All right. So, yeah, I want to leave it there. I mean, I like Bao and Johnny on this particular episode. I do think both of them are controllers. It might be interesting to see how they fare going on during the course of the show, but I think actually they've got a good chance of sticking together. Do you know what I mean? I think they've got a good chance. So, guys, if you like what we're doing, like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of what? The uploads. For those of you who are returnees, you already know what it is, baby. You got the minerals. You got the minerals. Don't forget, sir, stay hydrated.
Black, you know what time